The afternoon rain poured relentlessly onto the damp, cold streets of Chicago. Yellow streetlights reflecting off the glistening pavement. David pulled his coat collar up one hand, tightly, holding his daughter's small hand. Mia, 7 years old, skipped alongside him in her bright yellow raincoat, like a lost sunbeam in the overcast sky. She chattered excitedly about the dance she was going to perform while David listened all the while, calculating in his mind what they had at home to make for dinner. As they turned into a narrow alley, a familiar shortcut that saved a few minutes in the rain, David caught sight of a figure huddled against the brick wall ahead. His instincts immediately went on alert. He drew Mia closer and slowed his steps. It was a woman. Her light blue office outfit was soaked her blonde hair, matted against her pale cheeks. She sat on the cold concrete legs, stretched out awkwardly. In her hands, her phone trembled as if it were her last lifeline.
"Dad, she's hurt."
Mia whispered, her voice trembling but full of concern. David hesitated. Part of him wanted to keep walking. The city was full of unpredictable situations, and he had his daughter with him. But the woman's eyes made him stop. This wasn't an act. It was genuine pain and fear. "Please," she muttered as they approached. "Don't hurt me. I can't move. My leg. It might be broken." David immediately understood the fear in her voice. A lone woman, injured, trapped in a dark alley, in the rain, facing strangers. She had no way of knowing if they were saviors or a threat. "It's okay," David said softly, kneeling to meet her gaze, his voice steady yet calm. "I'm David, and this is my daughter Mia. We just want to help." She drew a shaky breath, trying to calm herself. I tripped over a manhole cover. My heel got caught. I fell, and I heard a crack. Now my ankle is swollen, and my phone's almost out of battery." David glanced down. Having been a sports coach, he could tell the injury was serious at a glance. "All right, I've got this," he said. "Mia, sweetie, remember your emergency training. Help Dad by calling 911. Okay." She nodded, her rare, serious expression settling in. Her tiny hands gripped the phone as she confidently began dialing, making David smile briefly. He took off his coat and gently placed it under the woman's head so she wouldn't have to rest on the cold, bent concrete. "Stay still," he said softly, his warm voice cutting through the sound of rain. "Helping someone is a small thing. You'll be okay." The rain hadn't let up as David carefully placed his coat under the woman's back. She shivered, soaked to the bone, and amidst the gray downpour, David noticed the luxury watch sparkling on her wrist and the designer handbag tossed to the side. Signs of wealth of power, now bitterly contrasted with the image of a woman trembling from cold and fear in an empty alley. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice deep but gentle. "Anna," she replied softly, swallowing rain mixed with tears. Anna Sterling. David wasn't sure if she was trembling from the cold, the pain, or the shock. "Dad, the ambulance is almost here," Mia called, still gripping the phone. She added, her eyes bright through the rain. "The operator said, we did the right thing. Stopping to help someone is the right thing to do." Anna turned to Mia, her gaze softening. "You're very brave to stop and help a stranger. Most adults wouldn't do that." "My dad says," Mia replied simply, "when someone is a stranger, it usually means they have no one else to help them." David gave a small smile, then turned back to Anna, talking while shielding her from the downpour. "Do you have anyone I can contact for you? Family, friends? Someone who could pick you up from the hospital, perhaps?" She gave a faint, weary, and slightly lonely smile. "I have employees, business partners, even people who always want something from me. But She took a deep breath. I don't know if anyone would come just because I need them. David fell silent. He understood, all too well, that sense of loneliness. He had lived it himself during the early years as a single father, struggling to stay afloat in a world where few genuinely cared. What do you do for a living? He asked, half to keep her alert, half out of curiosity. I'm the CEO of Sterling Enterprises, she replied. I work late as usual. I was heading to the parking lot when I tripped. It's ridiculous. She looked down at her swollen ankle, a trace of bitterness in her eyes. I can handle million-dollar crises, manage hundreds of people. Yet I can't walk across a parking lot without somehow destroying myself. David shook his head gently. You're not weak, Anna. Accidents don't choose their victims. They just remind us that, sometimes, everyone needs help. As the sound of the ambulance sirens pierced through the rain, 2 paramedics rushed over, thanking David and Mia for staying. They lifted Anna onto the stretcher, and just before she was wheeled away, she grasped David's hand. Wait, she said, her voice hoarse. I don't even know your last name. Can I have your contact number? I want to thank you properly, once I'm no longer sitting helpless in that miserable alley. David hesitated for a moment. He hadn't helped for gratitude, but that gaze, equal parts gratitude and vulnerability, made him nod and give her his number. He didn't expect to hear from her again. 3 days later, an unfamiliar call came through. David, the voice was familiar, fragile but steady. It's Anna. The doctor said my ankle was broken, but it will heal. I just wanted to thank you and Mia. I've thought a lot about that night. You don't need to thank me, David replied. Anyone would have done the same. No, they wouldn't, she said slowly, her voice catching. The parking lot cameras recorded it. 7 people walked past me before you arrived. 7 people saw a woman injured sitting in the rain, and they kept walking. Too afraid, too unwilling to get involved. A silence stretched across the line, broken only by soft breaths. David, she whispered, if it had been you, sitting in that alley, unable to stand, do you think anyone would have stopped for you? I just realized something, Anna admitted, her voice trembling in the steady rain. I've spent 15 years building my company, achieving success, but I've never built a life where someone would stop for me the way you did. I have no community. I have no real friends. And I certainly don't have a relationship with my daughter, like you have with Mia. You have a daughter? David asked, his voice deepening. Yes, Anna said, a trace of sadness in her eyes. Her name is Sophia, 8 years old. She mostly lives with her father, my ex-husband. I work 80-hour weeks and have hardly any time to truly be a mother. Her voice grew hoarse, choked with emotion. That night, sitting in the alley, injured and scared, I thought if anything happened to me, Sophia would hear the news from a lawyer or an assistant, not from her mother. She sighed. That's not the legacy I want to leave behind. The following month, between 2 seemingly unrelated people, an unusual friendship began to bloom. Anna, the powerful billionaire CEO, started learning how to shift her priorities. David, a simple but emotionally rich single father, became an unexpected mentor on balancing work and life, spending meaningful time with children, and building genuine connections within a community. Through this relationship, Anna opened doors for David, not through charity, but through real opportunities, a better job, flexible hours, and the ability to both earn a living and spend time with Mia. Eventually, he even led Sterling Enterprises' family wellness program, helping other single parents rediscover the balance he had once achieved. Most importantly, Anna began repairing her relationship with Sophia. She learned to be truly present, not perfect, not powerful, but vulnerable, attentive, and generous with her time. She reduced her working hours, attended school events, and discovered that genuine connection cannot be measured by efficiency or executive decisions, but by love and patience. 2 years later, David and Mia attended a community event organized by Sterling Enterprises. Anna stood on the stage, Sophia by her side, her eyes shining with pride. She announced an expanded family support program for all employees. This program, she said, her voice carrying through the microphone, was inspired by someone who taught me that success is not measured by profits or market share, but by showing up for each other when it matters. She paused, looking at David in the audience. 2 years ago, I couldn't walk sitting alone in an alley, and a single father and his young daughter stopped to help without expecting anything in return. They reminded me that being human means helping others, even when it's inconvenient. Anna smiled, her eyes glowing with gratitude. Thank you, David, for showing me that true power is measured by compassion, and that real wealth is counted in human kindness, not bank balances. The woman who once begged for help in desperation learned that vulnerability is not weakness. Sometimes it's in our darkest moments that we realize what truly matters. And the single father who simply stopped to help a stranger proved that the most important lesson we can teach our children is this: kindness matters more than convenience. This story reminds us that everyone has moments of weakness, and sometimes stopping to help another person can have the power to change a life. If this story resonates with you, share it as a reminder that we help others not for reward, but because it is the right thing to do.